just over the last 10 years, the world has changed so much, but we've been together in a room creating.
Yeah.
And sometimes we come together and it's like, we always say it's like the ultimate distraction.
Yeah. Being able to create something when a lot of things feel like they're falling apart, being able to create something is like the antithesis of the bad stuff in the world. You know, you're literally making something, and there's like nothing more, I feel like, human and communal than that.
A garden of pure ideology.
Yeah, just your typical Super Bowl car ad.
Or a hilarious beer ad.
Break was over 15 minutes ago, Mitch!
I think you're the best ever.
I think we're gonna be here a while.
Hello, filmmakers and advertising listeners. It's me again, Justin. And today, I'm talking with not one, but two amazing guests from the independent creative company SuperBloom. Adam Milano, head of branded entertainment, and Christina Connerton, creative director. They are a creative duo that has collaborated with major brands including Uber, Colgate, Corona, among many others. They both have operated in scripted and non-scripted entertainment, bringing a unique offbeat approach to their work. As you'll hear, they both pull in from a rich palette of film influences, which I had fun discussing with them, and it's very evident that it shows in the quality of their work. We covered a lot in this episode, from cultural observation and passion projects to practical industry wisdom. I'll get out of the way and let you enjoy. Here's my conversation with Adam Milano and Christina Connerton. Adam and Christina, you're both here. Now, I'm curious, like, when did you get the bug to do this business? Like, I'm curious for each of you guys' stories.
I think on some level I was always drawn to advertising. My dad was in the food industry, and I would apparently like build out like campaigns on my easel and like draw out storyboards. And like he worked for a company called Mocha Mix, and the whole thing was about like no cholesterol dairy. And I wrote like a script that was about like a blood vessel running through the arteries without cholesterol to chariots of fire. That was like my first creative, my first creative fossil. And then, but I ended up going into entertainment and, in film and television. And then sort of like later in life, kind of came back around, started freelancing and advertising and really took to it. But I think on some level, I was always sort of in love with that element of it, But yeah, my dad I'd make him take him to work and give me feedback. None of them ever got made, but we did put a lot of good creative in front of some food executives in the 80s.
Many missed opportunities.
Yeah,
absolutely. I feel like the Chariots of Fire is a missed opportunity.
Yeah, we'll repitch it.
I love it.
Yeah, let's bring it back.
Yes, let's bring it back. Well, and the title of our podcast is Filmmakers in Advertising. So it is really, because we found that there are so many people that just love the craft so much that overlap. And we found that a lot of people find it very mystifying. So we're trying to just chat with people and demystify kind of the industry, and everyone's kind of gets their in a different way and or is expressing it in a different way these days, as you guys have your specific niche. So Christina, you also have some background, it looked like, in the entertainment biz in addition to advertising. So I'd love to hear kind of how you got the bug and how those things overlap too.
Yeah, my way to advertising was honestly never the plan. It was very circuitous. I had like many different careers before I landed here. But in 2016, I moved out to LA from New York. I was a professional dancer, and then I was a social worker. And while I was working in social work, I really, really missed the creativity that I had while I was a dancer, and I was always a writer and that kind of thing. And so I knew I wanted to get back into making something. I just didn't know what. And a friend of mine worked at 72 and Sunny, and there was an opening for a production coordinator. So I came out for Echo to work as a production coordinator, but kept telling people like, by the way, I'm a writer, by the way, I'm a writer. And so it was honestly working as a coordinator and a PM and a producer and getting kind of like a touch into every element on that way. The ECD at the time, one night it was like maybe 2018, was like, you're a writer, right? And I was like, my moment is here. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, I need help in a deck. And then he just kept putting me in a deck and then started putting me on pitches. And then it just worked out and spiraled that way. When people ask, like, how do I get into copywriting? I'm like, I had literally no idea. I do not know. I was just in the right place at the right time. And I kept annoying people and telling them I'm a writer. So it worked out. And at the same time, I was writing my own scripts and my own projects. And so simultaneously, I started making short films. I have a TV show in development now. And so it's like kind of all happened simultaneously, which is really cool. I get to do both all the time. So that's cool.
I love that. Okay, great. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about SuperBloom.
Yeah, independent, creative company making all sorts of wild things with wild people is how I would explain it.
It's a good way of putting it.
And yeah. So we're 5 years. We just celebrated our birthday on Wednesday, which was April Fool's, which was the founding date of the company. So we're all 5 years in.
And when did you guys, like, what was your first project together?
Gosh,
Oof.
I mean, I can probably. We worked on Uber together, maybe at show or Corona. I feel like we did. The beautiful thing about Tom and Bryony was that they were like, oh, you don't know this? That's great. Like you're going to bring something totally different to the table, and they sort of think that way. We both were kind of like aliens a little bit in that. Mm-hmm. So everything we kind of brought to the table was probably more entertainment focused. So we pitched a lot of like content series, branded entertainment. And that was sort of what Echo was set up to do inside of 72 anyway. But we worked on together Uber, we worked on Corona, we worked on Colgate together. So yeah, like right out of the gate, those
Colgate
three.
Was a big one.
Yeah, Colgate was a big one, and it's something I think we're both proud of. It was this campaign that they do for kids. All the dentists in this organization create like animated series for kids to learn how to like brush their teeth and floss, and they refresh the materials like every 10 years. Colgate funds it. And so we made this like animated musical series that like my kids now still watch. Like I taught my kids how to brush my teeth with it. We worked with the writer of Pitch Perfect to write it. We had all original music. And that was like during COVID that we made that.
Like during lockdowns. Yeah.
So to be able to like work in animation and music and do something that we didn't have to be on set, but like could just put our hearts into, that was, I think from that section of our time together, that was one of my favorites.
That's fantastic. It reminds me of like I grew up on Sesame Street and the types of dynamics that would be there. I mean, some of those things are still just haunting in my mind. Some of the animated songs in a good way, like they just live on there forever, rent free.
Yeah, they stick.
Yeah, and I also love just the genre of animation. I think, big Family Guy fan, big American Dad fan, and now that I have kids, being able to show them things that I worked on, that's always fun.
Cool. Yeah, absolutely. Where do you guys go for inspiration?
My gosh. I go back to all my film influences mostly. Like I kind of always go back. Because not to copy, but all the great things that have been made, to be able to look back at the things that moved you and also just not even just take them as influence, but to figure out why they worked. So I think like that's always a big one for me, going back to whether it's a comedy that I loved or, just like a movie from the like golden age of Hollywood. I love musicals. Like I'll always go back to those when I'm sort of thinking about references, and we sort of bring those into the equation quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Christina?
I think same. I mean, I literally just spent like right before the Oscars, there were so many movies I hadn't seen yet. And so I spent 48 hours watching every single nominated movie. And that sounds terrible, but it was honestly it was such an inspirational weekend. After that, I wrote so many things. Um, but I also sometimes find when we get a pitch and it's really like nebulous and we don't know what we're doing yet, a lot of my inspiration comes from like, well, here's this one feeling I have about this brand or about this experience or a thing. And so I try to like capture that one feeling. And so I also write like poetry and stuff. And I think sometimes it's easier if I'm like, okay, I felt like this in this one specific instance. And so that's the inspiration, or somebody else felt like this, or they looked at me that way. And so sometimes I think just like standing outside and staring at people can be really
Love
inspiring. You know what I mean?
Also,
Love that.
also
LA and
podcasts.
New York are good for that. Oh, podcasts too. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, podcasts are great for that. Like,
Mhm.
I love You Must Remember This, where, Karina will like break down particular eras of Hollywood, or she'll connect a thread. And you get like the history and sort of the culture moment, and then everything that went into like making some of the greatest things. So podcasts are a great way to go back. Even if you don't have time to watch the movie again, you could like listen to a breakdown of the movie and like remember what made it so great. And sometimes that becomes something you can bring into the storytelling.
Yeah,
But yeah,
absolutely.
obviously influenced a lot by movies and TV and music, like us all,
Well,
I'm
that's
sure.
I also think like the weirder the better. Sometimes I find myself
Mm.
just scrolling social media, or it's why I can't break my TikTok addiction, because like the weirder somebody is, or the weirder something is, or like a short film or a sketch that somebody makes and it's just like it's so odd. That's
Yeah.
like extremely, I could like see one scene from something that somebody made that is so weird and then be like, oh my gosh, I know exactly,
Yeah.
I can write this whole script off of this like one little weird thing. So I just think weirdness is really inspiring.
This is a two-part question. This is related to kind of what you're going with there. Number one, I love that most of the references here are movies and TV and music and kind of outside the box kind of dynamics. It's making ads. Ads inspire me too. I love them, but I find myself when I'm going back in on a specific project, I'm pulling ideas more so from films as well, and or music or whatever it might be.
And what's interesting is that on the film side, on the entertainment side, they're also pulling references from great advertising as well. So you're pulling on it either side of it, and there's like sort of on the entertainment side an appreciation for being able to tell a story in a shorter period of time. Like that is actually harder than it looks, and the speed at which you do it. But I think like on the other side, we're always looking for the richness that you can bring from films, or sort of some of like the emotional elements that make them impactful. And obviously like filmmakers just become a reference in ads. Film, not specific films, but just their body of work will become an element for expression. So yeah, I probably am guilty of going back more than others. Like I am always like past is prologue for me, as you know. But
Wait,
we are who
what's
we
that
are.
phrase? Past is prologue for you?
Yeah, past is prologue. I have to go back to go. I have to go back to go forward.
I like that. Past is prologue. So you have like traditional advertising, you have branded content, you have a nexus in entertainment, all these different things. Like when do you use what, and how do you decide? Or I don't know. That's kind of an open-ended question. That's kind of broad, but for many people, the distinction is very blurry, and they don't even know what the difference is. And so just kind of if you were to explain the differences and then why you use different kind of forms like that, love to hear more about that.
Yeah, I think at SuperBloom, everything feels like it can be everything. We often try to when we get a brief, we want to show the client so often, here's the world that's actually surrounding this that you didn't even ask for or that you don't see. And I think something that's really always exciting when we're on pitches is, Bryony, our founder, is always like, okay, now blow it up. And in doing that, we come up with different avenues for creating all of this work. So I can understand how it feels blurry because sometimes everything is everything. I'm going to let Adam discuss the distinction.
No, I was going to say this. I was going to say the exact same thing. Once we all get around something and we start and we figure out what it is, where we're going, what's the human truth in it, like how do we position this brand in this way, and we get that platform. The next phase for us, and this is just because of everybody that at SuperBloom, it's sort of unique in the sense that everybody has a different background. Some people are from production, some people come from entertainment, some, Bryony has a media background, so everybody gets around it. And that's when you're deciding what that media can be. Where is it best placed? We sometimes say big screen, small screen energy, like you kind of figure out, and everything in between. And so there's like a media exploration, and that's when you're landing. Where is this story told? How much time do you need to tell it? Where does it live in the world? We're big fans of, innovative out of home and putting things out in the world that are interesting and bring you in. So yeah, like once we start with that big thing, I think the way we decide if it's branded content or branded entertainment or a 30 or just a cool, display, like all of it's of a piece, but we're sort of doing that together using our experience to kind of crack it. I wouldn't say it's easy.
Yeah.
It's probably like the hardest part.
Yeah, sometimes it changes too. Like Adam and I have been developing this concept called history dolls for like 7 years now. And it's this idea that I had that we wanted to tell stories of women whose work had been, the credit had been stolen by men. It's called the Matilda effect in science fields, where men suddenly, for some reason, get the credit for women. Don't know why that happens for all their work. And this happens throughout history and throughout industries, like dating back forever. And so I wanted to tell these stories with dolls. So we're calling them history dolls. And, is it an animated series? Is it real? Is it tactile? Are we doing stop motion? And originally, when we were talking about this idea, we were like, branded content. Let's reach out to brands. Let's make 5-minute episodes, 4-minute episodes. It can just be all branded. It can be a doll brand. It could be anything, really. And we started really pitching it that way and built out an entire 15 episode, mini episode arc. And then as we were developing it, Adam one day was like, what if it's just a show? So then I wrote a 30-minute pilot, and now we're like, and then we did a photo shoot, and now we're talking about making it social. And so sometimes the idea does change depending on like how we make it.
Absolutely. And that was born out of I think we were ahead of this, but born out of all the doll content that we were like, a lot of it was like, we were seeing a lot of doll content out there.
Okay.
And then Cece researched all of these stories. They're incredible. It's like, the woman who had invented the diaper, the woman who created Monopoly, CEOs that like founded companies that like then went to others, and then Nobel prizes that should have been given to people.
Many Nobel prizes,
and it was. And again, I always feel so funny about talking about this one because of the nature of the project. So I want to because I want to give credit to you on this and not be like, and here's my view on on history dolls. But doing it with dolls made it funny and tangible, and allows for this like tone that Cece's nailing in the script. So now it's like it's a series, so that it can kind of flex either way. But a lot of options because we're sort of thinking about the media with everything, and we're not limited to like, it's a 30, it's a TV show, it's a social content. You know?
Yeah.
I don't think you can be like that anymore. I think you sort of have to, understand the whole ecosystem of where people are watching stuff if we're going to be able to make things. Yeah.
I'll look forward to seeing it wherever it plays. Created by Adam Milano.
One day.
100%. When
No,
when
that was a
when it's
joke,
getting it,
everybody. That was a joke.
we know.
All
When
right.
it's getting an
For our
Emmy, when
listener
it's getting an
audience, just in case.
Yeah. Adam's going to win the Emmy. I can't
I
wait.
know. I'm gonna pull a full Kanye Taylor Swift and just stand up there and take the award.
Good.
No, I'm just kidding.
No, it would actually be impossible to make that without Adam.
Oh, well, I'm glad it's a collaboration. And that's, I find
Mhm.
collaborations, that's another reason why I love this industry so much, is it's just impossible not to do it that way. Like it is a collaborative industry on so many different levels. But I really want to ask more about that. Okay. So you don't have a client, right? You just had this idea on your own. Is that fostered by SuperBloom, or is it like how does that work? Does a lot of the ideas just generate and you go out there and find partners, or you go, well, if you don't find a partner, that's fine, we're still going to do it? Like, how exactly does that work? How often does clients and or other partners come to you? Like, how does that work? That's really fascinating.
Most of the time, it's the traditional way where clients are coming to us. But I think something that SuperBloom specifically fosters that I don't see a lot of other places fostering is like any idea is welcome and every idea. And I remember when we first started talking about history dolls, like it was specifically a time where they were like, what do you want to make? And then like kind of the doors were open. And that happens a lot at SuperBloom.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's actually one of the things that was so interesting to me coming into advertising that was different about entertainment was like the proactivity in entertainment. You know, you have an idea, you're passionate about it, you develop it with the people, you take it into the places to get it made. There's no brief. You know, you maybe know that like this particular studio or network is looking to do this thing, but it's a moonshot every time. You know, like unless you're being brought in on like a Marvel movie or something, you're always generating. And then when we started working together in advertising, it was just such a new muscle to have to like train off of a brief, understand what the brand was trying to do, and then engineer the ideas. But one of the things we just started doing was like, what if we just had the idea and then developed it for the brand and then took it into them and showed it to them, and turns out they love that proactivity. And it may not always be a match, but you've made an introduction, you've showed people how you think, and then sometimes they fall in love with it. So it doesn't always work that way, but I think we are lucky enough to be able to do it that way, because it's really the generating part's the fun part too, not just working off of a brief. Like having an original idea is pure, and so like we get to do that. Not all the time, but we get to do it.
Love that. How often? Like what percentage of the time? Like one a year kind of thing, or?
Gosh, well, I mean, right now we have a couple. We have another example of that is we have this amazing idea with Anna Gasteyer from SNL, which is, she's talked about it. I feel fine talking about it because she's talked about it on Amy Poehler's podcast. But basically, it is it's called The Most Wonderful Song of the Year, and it's basically a throwback holiday variety show. Like think back to like the early days of like Bing Crosby and that sort of tone, but modern. So musical comedy, and the whole purpose is to find the next big Christmas song and bring everybody together to pick it. So it sits somewhere between like a holiday variety show and like a music competition show on some level. And that was an idea that Anna came up with herself, brought to SuperBloom and a company called Mission Control. And so we sort of collectively built that out. And now we're, talking to a brand, which I can't say which brand, but we are talking to a brand on that one. And it's, that's an example of like also bringing talent into the equation, which is a big differentiator for us too. Like we have our creative collective, which is made up of all these sort of multi hyphenates and different types of creatives that we can tap and work with, and showrunners, writers, directors, on screen talent, and so yeah, we're kind of I don't know the percentage exactly of like how many original ideas, but I can say in a year we'll probably have like 5 to 6 original ideas that we're developing, trying to match with the brand or a studio or a network. And those are usually more like premium, like a little bit more like entertainment forward versus like a social content series, although we do that as well.
Amazing. All right, I'm going to have you brag on each other. Christina, Adam first. Adam, what is
Yeah.
what makes Christina unique and fun, and or her superpower in this biz?
Oh my gosh. Well, she has so many. So this is actually a very hard question. Cece will always read the culture. So when we're talking to a brand and we're trying to figure out, how to bring them into like 2026, and she will always start with like what the culture is and then bring it in. She's an incredible writer. She's very fast, like laser fast, but that doesn't mean bad. That means like laser fast and you're always getting great work. Sometimes I'll be like, Cece, we have like 2 hours. And I got this. And then she comes back and it's, but then also like,
ADHD works really well on a deadline. ADHD, let me tell you.
Yeah, no, I mean, Cece has taught me a lot. Let's just put it that way. Like we started together. I was an alien in advertising, I sort of just learning as I went, and I relied on her so much to kind of like, hey, what does this mean? Like, what are we doing here? And so, I mean, we've grown together, and all the above.
So nice.
Yeah.
So nice.
All right, Christina, your turn.
Okay. Adam is, I mean, yeah, everything you said about us growing together, it really has been like so fun. I don't know if many people get to like kind of work so long with the same people across different companies, which is really fun. But Adam, aside from being like generally so much fun to work with, there is no like ego, and there's no like stress or anger. Like sometimes advertising can get a bad rap, and a lot of people bring a lot of stuff to it. And Adam is just like always like hands in, sleeves up, so excited to do the work, and also so supportive. But something that's like a superpower is that he is like a great connector. If he's like, you have this idea, I know exactly who needs to hear this idea. You need this thing, I know exactly who to talk to about it. Like, he's given the landscape of his career and across entertainment, he just knows so many people, but he's also so willing to share that knowledge with you and bring those people in. And it works on like an individual level, and it works on like a company level. It's just like he creates a whole tapestry, which is like very unique.
Blushing.
Beautiful.
Like, really blushing.
Tapestry. I like that word too. And that's amazing. I love hearing that. And yeah, I do think that it is refreshing to be able to work with similar people, the same people, over the course of so many years, and the camaraderie that can be there. And yeah, it is refreshing to hear the types of dynamics and the types of ways that you work and see each other, because yeah, sometimes there's a lot of people in this industry that are jaded or angry or difficult, and it doesn't have to be that way. It can be fun.
No. What are you talking about, Justin? No. I think like when you look back at all your jobs, you don't, it's not like your family or your friends where they're like in your life forever. You have such a short window of working with people. Like at this point in my life, I've had such little pockets of teams and people. And when you look back at all the chaos, like you remember the people you really enjoyed working with. And I know that's cheesy, but like, it's true. Like that's the stuff I remember, is like being, in the trenches with that team at that time. And I just think this is fun. This should be fun. So I think
Yeah.
we're always trying to capture that a little bit if possible.
Absolutely. Yes. Sometimes I just want to, just look what we get to do. Look at what we're doing this thing. We're creating
Yeah.
this thing together, and it's fun. And
Yeah.
there gets to be, the clients can win, the audiences can win. We're winning in the process. Like, this is like, we're adding and contributing to the world around us. And it's just a delightful fun.
Yeah.
And to kind of create out of inspiration, sure, but in some ways out of nothing too. Like, now this thing exists that didn't exist anymore, and we all get to celebrate
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yes.
It's like,
Yeah, like really just comes down to it's like so fun to make stuff, and you get to make a lot of stuff in advertising because the timelines are shorter than like traditional filmmaking. You just like get to make stuff a lot. And
Yeah.
so that's fun. There's like nothing not fun about that.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's something that I enjoy making films and work on TV shows and things of that nature. And hopefully that'll become a larger percentage of what I'm doing. But I love advertising so much. It's like, I always want to be doing it. I love the tight turnaround. I love the service aspect of like meeting a brief and meeting a need that's there. That is kind of like the reverse that you were talking about, Adam, as well. And so, yeah, it's a fun industry. I think
We
really
were
is.
all those. Heather, our CCO, she's like, we were all those kids in school that like loved class projects and were like the people in the class projects that were like, I'll do it. Like we were like the ones that proactively like enjoyed the class project experience. There were people, the people sometimes sat back and let it come together. But like I think like our company specifically, at least, is made up of all those people that like enjoyed that. Which is really, if you boil it down, like the most simple, it's kind of in your DNA.
I love that. Well, and that's what I was going to ask next, was to brag on, or at least to differentiate SuperBloom, as far as like you guys have worked in a lot of different kind of elements, but like what is their superpower, or you guys together, conglomerate, like that's different.
Well, our founder does have really great hair. So I do think
That's
like
true.
she has like an incredible like Carolyn Bessette hair. So, and I don't think you can, personally, I don't think you can like get to this level without, that
Correct.
kind of,
That's step
what I
one.
mean? Yeah, that's step one.
Right. I love it.
Gosh, I can only compare it to like entertainment and what's different about this. Where I felt like in entertainment, I was very siloed. Just the experience of like reading a script or hearing a pitch or developing something. And then, one of the reasons I loved working at Echo with the same team and then here was like, that was all of a sudden, like everybody was part of the creative process, versus working in little offices, evaluating things and then kind of coming together when you make it. So it's super collaborative. I think we also lose our minds a lot together, like there's times where we're just banging our heads against the wall. And I think the creative team in particular, like goes a little like we have to like lose it to find it again, if that makes sense. And so, we have a lot of laughs. We're laughing a lot, like
Yeah.
we're having a good time. Our superpower, I think, is kind of what we talked about earlier, which is being able to take one big idea and blow it out like a million different ways with a deep understanding of like, what does it look like as a podcast, a TV show, branded content series, out of home? Like that's where we thrive. But I don't really have a lot of agency experience to compare it to. So, you know what I mean? So I've only worked in this sort of setting my whole time. So I imagine it's different. It feels different. But that's the thing I think we're best at.
Yeah. I will add too that like to Adam's point about like we kind of lose it to find it again. I haven't worked in a ton of agency settings either, but I have worked with a lot of different leadership in the few agencies I've worked in. Echo went through a lot of changes while I was there. And there's something unique about SuperBloom, especially once Heather, our CCO, came, which is that like every idea is worthy of being put on the table. And sometimes like my absolute weirdest ideas that I know at a different agency or with a different CCO would be cut because I'd be like, come on. It makes it in front of the client. Like at least one of them makes it in front of the client because she likes it and we all like it. And so it's like, why not? And so I think it fosters like a really open dialogue to be like fully, every idea is on the table. You cannot scare anybody off, which makes it so much more fun. It's just like generally more fun when you can be as weird as possible, which is really nice. And I think it also speaks to the general, on a personal level, ethos of SuperBloom, which is like we are all people as well as creatives. There's like a level of support and understanding of our own humanity that exists outside of the advertising space.
Beautiful.
Which is really nice. We get to like be people.
Yeah. Yeah. And also we get to work with every type of creative. Like that's the thing. And that's actually, if we're talking differences between entertainment and advertising, like when I came over, it shocked me that at all these agencies, you had a team of people that had probably been there for a while that like held the keys to every creative output and decision. In entertainment, you're working with different directors at all time. You wouldn't have a horror director direct like a romantic comedy unless maybe they could. It just didn't work that way. And so part of the thing that's, I think, special or interesting is that we have this community of directors, writers, choreographers, dancers, musicians. Like we can kind of work with anybody, and you bring in a different perspective. And so yeah, the Creative Collective is a unique resource for us and allows us to kind of break out of the traditional thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Creative Collective is made up of people outside the organization, like,
Yep.
and then
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything from people outside. I think technically Adam might be in the Creative Collective. I think technically I'm in the Creative Collective, but now we work
You
here,
are.
so we've been
You are.
sucked in. But yeah, it's made up of like industry people
Yeah.
who do other things.
There were a lot of people like ourselves that want to do advertising and want to do branded entertainment. And specifically as the entertainment business shifts, there's more of them and it's all kind of merging. And I think like 3 years ago, everybody was like, well, let's just build a community and have a rapport with these people, understand what makes them great, be in conversations with them all the time. So we're not like having to go through like commercial director houses every time or like go through an agent every time to like book this. These are people we like fundamentally understand and respect, and we've curated this community. So like if a brief comes in and it's specifically about, I'm making it up, but like, let's say it's a Gap ad and it's like, we got to do dance and music. We can go to our community and find, Jamal Sims, who's like one of the best choreographers in the world and did the Virgin safety video that everybody is obsessed with and choreographed like every movie and every pop star. We can go find a songwriter. It's just, we're able to like work with these people the way we want to work with them. And I think that's fundamentally different. And again, I haven't been at other agencies. I don't know, maybe they are doing that, but like, I just know that this is how we're doing it. And that feels different. And that feels like connected to my past as well. And probably to yours, CC, a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And it's also like faster because we already have established relationships. So when there's a brief, for instance, we're working on something right now, and there's a director and creative director, she does both in the Creative Collective. And we were ideating on what the tone of this piece was and what the work wanted to look like. And immediately we were like, it's her. So we just texted her and she traded on it. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like, okay. Yeah. It's just so easy.
It's easy. And then it's like, we can make those decisions based on people's strengths. And that's a big part of, I think, getting the work to the level everybody wants, like, is knowing what they're good at and applying that. And that's maybe the crossover between entertainment and SuperBloom, I would say. Talent.
So what tips do you have for people like trying to get started and or continuing in their career, whether they be a director or a copywriter or a producer, what makes them stand out? I mean, Christina, you mentioned you just kind of got a job in something that wasn't exactly what you're looking for. And you just kept on reminding people, hey, I write.
I just kept reminding people. Yeah. I do think that that's helpful, is to just be like exceedingly annoying at all times. It's like a mantra of mine. Just keep annoying people. Remind them that you're there. That helps. But yeah, I do in general always. I think that you don't have to get the exact job that you want if you get a job near it, and then you just keep telling people or meeting people about the thing. I know that there's like much more streamlined ways to become copywriters. I do not know how people do it, but I do think that just continuously writing, as cliche as that sounds, like just keep writing, you know, like all the time, and then somebody will end up seeing it or remembering it.
Yeah.
Needing
People
it.
need to see you. People need to see you in action is the thing. And you can like make a phone call and ask for an introduction and sit down and ask good questions. And of course, like that's important. But it's like my mom used to be like, offer, don't ask. You know, like bring a point of view, show them something you've done, like find a way to do, even if it's like in the beginning, you have to do it for free to just get it in front of them. Like there's a lot of times we've brought in writers and designers that just proactively reached out and showed us something that we liked. And then all of a sudden they're plugged in. You know, don't expect, you know, on the other side of this for people to like see what you're all about. And if you don't have that body of work, you just need to start doing it, you know, and then people start to see it, and then they see you in action, and then that's when it all clicks. Like, don't wait to
Yeah, that's
create,
kind of how
you know.
it all works. Even when I took a break from advertising and I started working in documentaries, it happened because I was at Etcho producing a project. The director / story producer was hired specifically because it was a doc style project. And we just kept talking the whole day. And I just kept saying what I was interested in, what I liked doing. And then she got a doc series for A&E about foster care. I used to be a social worker. I told her that I really liked documentary work, that I was also a writer. And I like popped right over as a story producer, or as a junior story producer. It was very early. And it won an Emmy. So that was like so cool that I got to work on it. But it was really just because of one day's worth of work on and having conversation with her. And we just like clicked. And it was months later that she reached out and was like, I remember that you said this specific thing. So just continuously saying it.
Yeah. And sometimes one conversation that clicks turns into something.
Yeah. Yeah. Which like as an introvert, that's so hard. I was much more extroverted when I was younger, and I am not that way now. So like,
I think we all
it's
are. I think
hard.
we're all. I think
Yeah.
we're all moving back into like introvert
Inside time.
territory. Yeah, inside time.
There's like a lot of inside time.
Yeah.
So it's like there are people who do this all the time, much more successfully, but like it doesn't have to be all the time. Like one conversation, repeatedly doing the thing, and honestly just doing the work. Like Adam said, like show them that you can do the work, continuously showing up and making it. And now we're competing with AI, so showing that there's something human and differentiating about you is really good. Like AI can do stuff, but it can't feel. So
No, well, we can talk about AI, but I'm not going to yet. I'm not going to lead us in that direction right now. But
let's just end on AI. Since
it's just that's it.
But it was interesting to see OpenAI's Sora being shut down. So that was really fascinating. But
yes, it was.
Yes.
Big implications, and that was like coming in hot. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, this feels very fast. But then we always say, like, again, here we go, just getting into AI. But like, it also don't you think on some level it's just swinging people back on a bit? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where it's all going. I don't think anybody does. But you know, there are times when technology or like a new tool or platform come along, and everybody declares it's the end of painting. The camera's here. You know, and it's scary. It's the end of music. We have a cassette tape, you know, but then you get punk and hip hop. And so like, I don't know like where it's all going, but I do know that people are having an adverse reaction to already very quickly the uncanny part of that, you know? And so
the
God help us all.
The major ones, Coca-Cola and McDonald's doing, you know, certain ads, and have kind of a backlash there. Then seeing Apple kind of lean into the opposite, where they're having not just live
that was
action,
so interesting,
but doing behind the scenes of the live action, so that everyone sees that it is, you know, kind of
that
stuff.
it's
as
real.
far as like, we're doing puppets, you know, and they're actually puppets, you know, kind of stuff. And then or their new their color logo thing. Like we're doing a
Yes,
BTS
that.
of the color
Yeah.
logo thing that shows that it's practical. And so there is something delightful and tangible and I don't know,
Yeah.
tactile with it.
I
Not
think
to
something
say that we can't use AI. I'm not an AI hater. I just am like I'm not a doom and gloom, and neither am I, it's the savior,
Yeah.
kind of thing either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think something that we talk about a lot too is like sometimes the technology that comes out is so interesting and tempting for the brands or for people creating the work because they're like, oh my God, I want to use this thing.
Yeah.
But something that we talk about a lot at SuperBloom is like, what does culture want? What do people actually want who are sitting in their houses? Do they want that? And just because it's tempting to use all of the technology available because that's so fun sometimes as a maker, is the end result what people are craving or need or want? Does it reflect culture back to them? And so there's kind of like two cultures going on. There's the boom, and then there's the people who just like really want something tangible and tactile. And I think the most successful spots right now and the brands that are doing the most innovative, interesting work, it's all tactile. It's like all people, bodies, like even if they're imitating AI, but they're real. And I think that that's the stuff that's like really interesting to people right now. Obviously, there's a ton of AI work out there and it's going to get better and it's going to look better and people are not going to be able to tell as much. And we use it for certain things to make things work better. It's a valuable tool in a lot of ways. But I think sometimes like the allure of let's just use this thing can surpass
Yeah.
like, well, what do we want to make though?
Yeah, that's really, what was they made it look like a NPC video game
Yes,
kind of thing,
that's
but it's
exactly what I was
all
thinking
live
of.
action people. Yeah.
Yes, I can't remember what brand it is, but it's so good. It's so good. It's so
Yeah.
amazing. I think that anytime you use, as a former dancer, I think anytime you use like bodies, interestingly, and these are all obviously people that are like they're movers, they're actors who use their body to do this like NPC work is so fascinating. It's so interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to look that up and put it in the show notes for
Yeah.
everybody because everyone should go take a look at this. It's really quite amazing. Okay, so you have these projects that you're working on together that the SuperBloom encourages. That's not necessarily having a brand associated with it too. What about outside of it? Like, what are personal projects you're just excited about, or do you have them?
Yes, of course, we have personal projects. Right now, my personal projects are my children. And they
It's a huge one.
are, yeah,
That's
and they're
great.
taking up a lot of that time, which I couldn't be more thrilled about. But yes, I have personal projects. I think we're like encouraged to have side hustles. That's like one of the things I love too. No one's like, "What are you working on?" That's not, specifically tied to this. Like no one's there. In fact,
Good.
it's encouraged. And of course, I have some things brewing that like do not get the time and attention that they probably could use just because time's limited.
Mhm.
But yeah, a friend of mine, him and I are working on this lifestyle platform that we've been sort of building over the last few years, and I'm really excited about, and kind of scratches an itch that I think is out there,
Okay.
which is about like gay parenthood, just about parenthood in general, but from the POV of like gay dads. So that's something that when I have time, I'll write to it. I'll sort of give it some thinking. We're building the site. It's not one of those, but it's going slow.
Listen,
Thank you.
everything
Exciting.
is slow. The side
Yeah.
project is always slow.
Totally.
I have to tell
Totally.
myself that
Yeah.
every day. I'm like, cool, this is the slowest thing I've ever done. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish there was a way, and maybe there are, but
Um,
because that's what I do love about the ad industry is how quick things can be. And I go, how can I like
Yeah.
infuse that to my personal stuff or the stuff that doesn't have it? It's like,
uh-huh.
can I hire someone to then hire me to to make sure the thing happens
Yeah.
in a specific amount of time? That would be really amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. I once reached out to a project manager friend of mine who I really liked working with. And I was like, can I hire you to make sure that I do my side projects? She was like, I don't want to do that.
Side hustle
Okay,
account
so you
Never
work.
gonna get
actually
done.
attempted
Yeah.
it. Yeah, so we're on the
I
same page
attempted
there.
it.
We would like that.
Maybe I should
Yeah.
make my children my account directors, and then they can
Yes,
like stay on me. That'll work.
that's it.
There you go. All right, Christina. Yes, personal projects or passion projects.
Yeah, I do have a couple. I'm always running a couple of things in the background. The biggest one is that I do have a show in development with two of my writing partner friends. That is cool. I don't actually
Mm,
know what I'm allowed to say about it, but it's cool. So
Yeah.
that's really fun. It's my
I
first
can
time in,
validate. I can validate that it's
yeah,
cool without you
yeah. Adam
having
has been
to
extremely helpful.
break the story. Break the story. Yeah.
Yeah, Adam's been extremely helpful just as like a friend and peer to help lead me in the right direction and find people to help me and navigate the system. And it's been really helpful. So that's cool. I'm also finally wrapping up this short film that I shot about a year and a half ago that I wrote. That was the first project I'd ever like fully directed myself. So that's really exciting. Both
yeah.
me and my husband are disabled with chronic illness. So sometimes the projects that feel like they take a long time take even longer because illness and fatigue and all that gets in the way. And my husband is my sound designer and sound mixer. And so it's taken us some time to finishing, but we are almost done. So I'm really
Yes.
excited for that to come out into the world. And then I'm writing my next short film and also putting together the pieces of a feature, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
I also write poetry. And so I am hoping to publish my first like short poetry chapbook in the next year. I'm doing this thing this year that's new called the 1,000 Rejections Challenges. Have you ever heard of it?
I've
So
seen a Instagram account that does one every day or something like that, but he always
yeah, so
succeeds.
sure. I'm sure that happens a
Yes.
lot. It's not that way for me. But I am trying to get rejected 1,000 times this year. And so I'm specifically putting that to like my creative work. So like
Love
submitting
that.
scripts for, evaluation, submitting films to film festivals, submitting poems to poetry contests. And so it's kind of been the motivating factor behind this year, at least, to be like, okay, I need to do this so that I can be rejected from it, which is really fun. And I've been rejected from most, but not all. So I have some stuff coming out, which is fun.
Nice. Now, do you keep track of your rejections? You're like, oh, I'm
I
at
do. I have a spreadsheet.
199
I have a
or whatever.
spreadsheet of rejections.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, not to get into anything other than Harry Potter, like I won't talk about J.K. Rowling, but I will
Of course.
say that let's talk about Harry Potter. That book was like passed on. She kept all the past letters from all the publishers that like said no. And I think it was like 50 plus letters that like, said no. I mean, I worked for Simon Cowell and everybody passed on American Idol,
Yeah.
and it was like he pitched it everywhere, and he tells this story, but it didn't happen a million times. And so it's like that is advice for anybody that's going to come do this. You're going to get no all the time. You're just going to get so
Yeah.
many no's, and it's more important to like know what you're all about and own your whole thing and just keep going, because it's like you just can't do this without an understanding of that, because the rejection is gonna come, and it's not an indicator of like, is it good or are you good? It's sometimes just like not a
Right.
connection for other people, and you got to find
Yeah.
the right person. That's how it
And some
goes.
rejection letters are like very funny, which is always entertaining. Like sometimes those rejection letters are just like, oh, wow, you hated that. Okay, thank you. Thank you so much for telling me.
That's
Cool.
amazing. Uh, I've also I've noticed like I've submitted to like the blacklist on the website and got
Mhm.
like their feedback and stuff, and it's interesting to see different ones. And sometimes I'll get a higher rating, but their feedback is so blah. I'm like, this is completely unhelpful. And then I'll get a lower rating, but then their feedback's like really tangible, like the way they engaged with it. You can tell that they were intentional and get like, and they gave it lower, but I'm like, but I could do more with this. So that's also like a really fascinating
Yeah.
thing as far as like growing. And my big tip that I give to our colleagues, to my employees, to my writing partners, to whoever else is like, whenever you're taking feedback, never just apply it. You only use it as information to make the thing that you think is better yourself. Like it's always needs to be there. Like,
Yes.
Could not
that's
agree
there.
more. Could not agree
Yeah.
more. And consider the source. Sometimes people are giving you feedback on something that they're not great at.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you know, so it's good to have like sometimes I try to have like on one hand, you know, 5 people that you really trust, and don't open it up wide. Don't share it to everybody.
Yeah.
It'll just put you in your head. But keep that list handy of people that like are really going to give you good feedback and lead you in the right direction, and then kind of go to them when you need it for when you need it. Because you're going to get a lot of feedback, and often it's not based on something the other person has a proven track record in or is good at, you know, so consider the source a lot too.
I think that also works across both industries, you know, side hustle and advertising. I think something that makes the work feel really collaborative and joyous at SuperBloom is like I trust everybody's taste and they're the go-to. Like I know I can be like, if Adam likes this, I'm like, we're good. If Heather likes it, we're good. If
Vice
AJ
versa.
our other
Yeah.
ACD likes it, we're good. Like I really trust that. And I don't think that's always the case everywhere. You know, I think part of it being a boutique kind of agency and smaller means that there's less voices. But yeah, absolutely in agreement with Adam. Like there are some people that I'm like, if you say this to me, I 100% believe it. And then there are other people that I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
you.
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, trusting that certain people they're honest with themselves enough to know what their own taste is, that they're truly reacting that way rather than speaking
Yeah.
out of ego to feel like they have to say something and or have to put something down. You start to feel it and understand it and intuitively know when someone's doing it that way. And yeah, it helps to have that boutique team where you go like, okay, like they're speaking from the gut and they're speaking from honesty. And I like our collaborations, the past and where it's gone. So I can trust them that I can
Yeah.
use this information to move the project forward in a positive direction rather than sometimes you get feedback and you go, I think they're just having an ego trip here. And I feel bad for them because
Yeah.
they're not helping themselves and they're not helping this particular project at all. And,
Yeah.
so that's a reality. Or realizing that if it's someone outside, they just don't get it and it's okay. It's not like a put
Yeah.
down. It's not an ego thing of like, oh, I get it and they don't. It's more of just like, no, that's not the audience. Like maybe once they see it in the end, they'll get it, or maybe they're not the audience for it and that's okay too. So
Mhm.
I read this book. I wish I could remember the name of the book right now, but I read it. It was a recommendation from an actor, director friend of mine right when I was finishing up my first short film and we were submitting it for festivals. And basically, it was talking all about like creativity and when something is yours and when something isn't yours anymore and how to like keep that, you know, you have to latch on the creative spark when it happens. Otherwise, it goes to somebody else, you know, like you lose it. And there was just this very interesting thing that stuck with me, which is like, once you make the thing, it doesn't actually matter what other people think because you made the thing. And so it's both yours and not yours, and that's fine. And going into my first festival season with a short film that I had written and starred in and like produced and put all this, you know, personal time and attention into, it was really nice actually to then view that entire process as like, oh, it's okay. Like those people, if you don't like, I made something really weird. It was weird, you know, like at one point there was a whole musical number out of nowhere. Like it was strange. But if you didn't get it, that was fine. I had made it and I was proud of it. And then it was just out in the world and it existed. And so that's also helpful too. It's like, once the thing is done, it's done. And then
Yeah.
some people get it and some people don't.
love that. Well, you guys are already kind of taking up some of my last questions very naturally as far as good words of wisdom and
Good.
that's
We know
already
everything. Just kidding.
there. That's why we had you on the show.
We
because
have
know
all
that
the
you
That's
answers.
the
Don't
takeaway.
worry.
Yeah, that's the takeaway.
Yep.
But yeah, is there any other kind of like closing thoughts as far as like personal motto or mantra or words of wisdom that you've received that you've kind of passed on or
Gosh. I love the Barry Diller quote, like, they won, you lost next.
Mm.
And I just think that it goes back to what we were talking about earlier, like building up that resilience and confidence in what you're doing. And because like I think earlier in my career, I spent a lot of time dwelling on the losses. Like, you know, you work really hard on something, it goes away, and then you're like, what next? That's devastating. I put my, you know, and that time that you're spending sort of grieving that is time that you're not thinking about your next thing or learning from it or pivoting to something that's going to take you higher. Like all of that just kind of pulls you back. And that quote to me is like about acknowledging very quickly that this happens to everybody. Like even Barry Diller, you know, is losing to others. But you know, where he's smart is he's like, I'm gonna just keep moving, you know? And I think that's it's important just for your soul to be able to work in the creative space, but it's also important for your growth because like you're not wasting time on the regrets in the past and you're just moving on to like what keeps inspiring you. And that's what's great about being creative is you can like go get excited about something else, you know, go jump into something else like that's consistent for your whole, you know, your whole run. So I like that one. And it makes me feel better when, you know, the meeting goes south or the project doesn't happen or you don't win the pitch. It's, I don't think anyone's immune to that, even the best.
Yeah. Good words.
I don't know if I have any words. I have like kind of a woo-woo overall life belief, which is that
let's get the woo-woo sounds great.
I have a tendency to, you know, see bad things and be like, oh, bad things are going to happen, you know? so sometimes that can be how I view things. But something that really helped both when I started working more full-time in a creative field and also when I became disabled, which kind of happened simultaneously, which like in general, being disabled is like extremely creative, like to be disabled requires creativity. So it's a very interesting dual life simultaneously. But if every bad thing that you imagine could happen, it probably can, but that means that also on the flip of that, then every good thing that you imagine can happen can. And so the universe is just chaos. And so it really could go either way. So that's, I don't know if that's optimistic. To me, that's optimistic.
No, I like
it. Yeah.
No, for sure. The flip side of panic, you know, like,
it's like, okay, like actually the chaos is kind of grounding. All the bad stuff could happen, but all the good stuff too. And so that's in your career and not your, you know, all of it can happen. So sometimes that's helpful when I'm like, what's, you know, what's the point? Then I can be like, maybe there's a point.
Yeah.
I love that.
Well, we've had a lot of moments. I mean, if you think about it, we started working together right before the pandemic.
Yeah.
That was like a year or two in. Like I had just started and then we were in lockdown and then just over the last 10 years, the world has changed so much, but we've been together in a room creating. And sometimes we come together and it's like, we always say it's like the ultimate distraction. Being able to like get around something hopeful or get around something funny. It just pivots your brain away from it all. It's a healthy distraction actually. You know, I think that helps bring some of the joy to work versus, oh, I have this thing. It's like, no, I get to go pivot my brain to this really fun thing that we're all going to sit in a room and talk about today. And I don't have to talk about that. And creativity is like the greatest antidote for, I think, for that. I think everybody.
Yeah, being able to create something when a lot of things feel like they're falling apart. Being able to create something is like the antithesis of the bad stuff in the world. You know, you're literally making something, and there's like nothing more, I feel like, human and communal than that.
Control, too.
Yeah,
like
and to give you control,
Yeah.
I love that. Well, thank you all so much. This has been delightful.
Thank you so much.
Well, this was so fun. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is so cool. Thank you for having us.